Alright, so in this video I'm going to go over the steps on how to replace the shocks and springs on a first-gen Tacoma. My truck is a 2001 Tacoma, so I'm going with the Old Man Emu suspension, more specifically the Nitrocharger Sports. Right now I still have the OEM suspension on it. It's got about 170,000 miles, so it should have been replaced a long time ago. But so I have the struts assembled, and I also replaced the spring seat with a new KYB one. These shocks are on the OME Springs, and these are the, I don't know if you can see it, these are the 881s. And I decided to go with the 881s, even though I plan on getting a plate bumper in the future. Are going to be perfect for what I have right now. And when I eventually do get the plate bumper, I'll definitely need to upgrade the springs to at least 882 to compensate for all the extra weight on the front end. But for now, this will work. I've also picked up the rears, which I'll do in a separate video with all the new bushings and U-bolts, and eventually I also have the Dakar springs I'll be putting on. But for now, like I said, this video is just going to be replacing the front suspension. So I live in the Pacific Northwest, so rust really isn't an issue. But since this truck is a 2001, over the last week or so, I've hit a lot of the hardware with PB Blaster, just let it kind of soak in. And so hopefully I won't have any problems pulling this off. It's pretty straightforward. Down here we just have a 19mm. And then we just have these three nuts up here. And that allows us to pull the whole assembly down. Do not remove this nut. This is what's keeping the whole assembly together. You won't need to remove it to get the strut assembly out, but so far this side looks pretty good. Time to get the old strut out. Once you've removed the nut, you can just use a punch to get that bolt out, because that bolt will be reused. Everything up here, usually all of this, it comes with the new suspension. Little comparison shot, new versus old. Alright, now just tighten these back up. Alright, everything's installed. You want to torque these strut top bolts to, I believe it was 47 pounds, and this lower 19mm, it's like 100 or 101 pounds. And then we'll get started on the other side. Okay, so I didn't bother filming the driver's side, and as luck would have it, when I got down to the last bolt, it was completely seized, and I think it rusted from the inside. So what I ended up having to do is, I tried to use a little bit of heat, but that didn't work. I soaked it again in PB Blaster for a little bit, didn't help, hammered it a few times. It just wasn't going to budge, so I ended up just cutting the bolt with a Sawzall. Went through two blades, cut the end of the bolt off, even drilled out the center of the entire length of the bolt. It still wouldn't budge, so as a last resort I just cut this as close to the flange as possible. and did a pretty good job of it. But overall, it was like another 2 hours for something that should have taken 2 seconds to undo, but that's kind of what you have to expect. Well, I took it around the block, and so far it's settled at 38.5.